I am Sonia, a perfect specimen chosen by Lord Nurgle. Nino? She's trash. Garbage. Human refuse.
Our newest Grand Hero Battle Unit is Sonia with an I and not a Y. As you just heard, she's not exactly a very nice person, so I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of Nino revenge runs on her Grand Hero battle map. As a unit, Sonia is going to be a blue infantry mage, perfect for Nino to take down. For stats, she has 40 HP, 35 attack, 24 speed, 32 defense, and 35 resistance. Sonia's got some very impressive defensive bulk, with 32 defense being the second highest among any blue mage. 35 resistance is also quite high, and the only other blue infantry mage who has this type of bulk is Dual Alphonse. 40 HP, 35 attack are both decent, and speed is where Sonia's going to have to make some sacrifices. Oddly enough, she does have a speed super boon, so you could play into that if you wanted to. I would however recommend probably just focusing on her impressive defense and res bulk. Unfortunately, Sonia is neither a weird creepy bad dude or a red mage, so that means she's not going to get a unique tome. Instead, Sonia comes with the blue serpent tome, which is an inheritable tome that has distant defense 3. If foe initiates combat and uses a ranged weapon, grants plus 6 defense and res during combat. Technically speaking, the Blue Serpent Tome is one of the rare inheritable tomes since it was only found on female Morgan, who's a 5-star unit. Sonia does bring it into the free-to-play pool if you want, however I do think it has been massively outclassed by another inheritable tome. I'm going to talk about this more later on since I think it perfectly fits Sonia's bulkier stat spread. The Serpent Tome is okay since Sonia will probably be leaning toward an enemy phase type build anyway, however it does only work against ranged threats. For the skills, Sonia comes with Glaces as her special, not bad with her good base resistance stat. For her A skill, Sonia will have Fortress Defense and Res 2. This is the first time a unit has the tier 2 version of this skill instead of the last tier 3. It grants a flat +4 defense and res in exchange for -3 attack. If you want, you could use Sonia to get the prerequisite Fortress Defense and Res 2. That would then allow the 5-star units with the tier 3 version to pass along other skills when inheriting. As for her C skill, Sonia has Threaten, Attack, and Res 2. We only had one unit with the dual Threaten for attack and resistance, and that was Winter Sothis. She has the tier 3 version, which is much more powerful. Threaten, Attack, and Res 2 will only inflict -4 attack and resistance on foes within 2 spaces at the start of the turn. That is okay, but it's kind of weird on a mage since Sonia's attack range is 4 spaces, so the enemy would have to walk up really close to her first, or you're already in a close quarters fight. Overall, not really an amazing base kit, but Sonia has 3 skills that are actually quite rare. With the Serpent Tome and Fortress Defense and Res 2 active, Sonia's going to get +10 defense and res against ranged threats, so it's actually fine to keep if you want. If you're going to merge up Sonia, the Ancient Nature will give her +1 HP, attack, and resistance. Not bad, that's fine to keep. If you want to use trade fruits, Sonia does have that speed super boon, however you would have to go all in on a speed focused build. A defense boon would balance out her stat line, so that's not a bad option either. Sonia can definitely be a fun unit if you're going to go for high investment. She's going to be quite tanky in both defense and resistance, which is again not something a lot of blue mages can offer. Sonia is going to have one major competitor from our free-to-play blue infantry mages. Despite having a solid defense and res spread, Brunia and her Volvator tome offer a lot of benefits you may instead want. Both Brunia and Sonia have similar HP, attack, and res stats, but their speed and defense are 2 different stories. Brunia may only have 21 defense, but Volvator has aged quite well, I would say, since it completely neutralizes stat penalties on Brunia and also gives her +4 all stats. She even gets a flat +3 resistance, and I have seen so many different Brunia builds. As a merge project, her throw and base speed is going to give Brunia a lot more flexibility because she can either prevent some doubles with it, or you can go all in to double enemies herself. Sonia may have that speed super boon, but if you're going to go that route, you may as well just use Brunia instead and just give her her own speed boon. Volvator does give bonus speed, although the ability to neutralize penalties makes Brunia a consistent unit. This is very important in PvP modes, and a +10 Brunia can definitely be a tough foe. She is a Tempest Trials unit, but Volvator does seem to justify the extra heroic girl cost. This isn't to say Sonia shouldn't be used because she doesn't have a unique weapon. She can easily stack up a ton of defense and res, and there really isn't any other blue infantry mage that's gonna have over 30 defense or res besides Dual Alphonse. If we look at the 3 to 4 star Sunnable units, the closest comparisons might be Male Robin or Odin, but that's quite a stretch. If you want to focus on just resistance, it's tough to top Ileana with her 40 base resistance, but she sacrifices all her defense to get to that point. Sonia is easily the best choice if you don't mind sacrificing speed to get some beefy defense and res. If you want to build Sonia and keep her base kit skills, you're probably going to need just to add quicker posts. She's slow, so if you want to KO foes in one round, then QR is just a standard. With With the Serpent Tome and Fortress Defense and Res 2, you're going to get plus defense and res for Sonia, although that's only on the enemy phase when attacked by ranged foes. You can add any defensive sacred seal like Sturdy Stance, Tech and Defense Bond, or even just another distant defense skill. You could also use the Fortress Defense and Res 2 seal, but then you're going to give Sonia -6 attack total, which is kinda not great. You can substitute Fortress Defense and Res for Breaking Stance. Since Sonia is going to be primarily an enemy phase unit anyway, that would keep her attack in check, although if you had the extra flat defense and res, Sonia would be able to run ploy or sabotage debuffs better. We have a bunch of ploy varieties, and then thanks to Solon, we also got our first easily accessible sabotage debuff. Similarly, we got Speed and Res Oath from Dithorba, and personally I would probably replace Threat and Attack and Res 2 with something else. If you plan to put some investment into Sonia, there is one inheritable weapon that really matches her well. Thanks to this year's Valentine's unit, Sonia can borrow the Pact Blooms Plus from Valentine's Veronica, who is a heroic Grail unit. Personally, I think the 3 Valentine's Tomes just outclass their Serpent Tome counterparts with very little drawbacks. Pact Blooms requires the user to be within 2 spaces of an ally. It then inflicts -5 attack and resistance on the foe and heals 4 HP every attack the user makes. -5 attack is basically the equivalent to +5 defense and res. That means in exchange for 1 defense and res point, Sonia will gain 5 extra damage, some healing each attack, and the Pact Blooms works on both phases and against melee threats as well. If I have an enemy phase type unit, it is very common for them to be somewhat near other allies, so activating Pact Blooms is super easy. You just get so many benefits from this weapon, and it's a perfect match for Sonia, who has a ton of defense and res. Because it works against any unit type, you can easily run a close counter or close foil build. You can then tack on things like low attack and res and the quicker post combo. In total, Sonia would inflict -8 attack and resistance, and she gets a follow-up attack, and she gets the healing to stay in quicker post range potentially. You can also choose a defense or res refine for the weapon itself. For C skills, you can of course go with a Joint Drive, some type of self-buffing skill, or maybe attack or post smoke. If you're on quicker post as a B skill, you have a ton of sacred seal options to fill in whatever stats you want more of. For other weapon options, technically Sonia would be a good Raven Tome user. She has the highest defense stat for free-to-play blue mages, so that would help against daggers and archers. If you want to invest in speed, there is the Spooky Sensor Plus Tome. This is a Fury 3 tome from Hollow and Ileana, and she's the first one in the new Norma 2 Divine Codes path. It is possible to get a lot of extra speed from skills like Steady Posture 3 or Swiss Stance 3 for enemy phase builds, but they are very tough to get. Sonia could use solo skills instead, or maybe Luis's new attack and speed ideal skill. If you are fine with solo skills, Sonia could also use Rouse Speed and Defense, and then either Speed and Res solo or Speed and Defense solo as a seal. While you can opt for a bulkier speed build, again this is where the comparisons with Brunia come into play. If you just want a speed focused build, I would probably just check her out instead. Last, I just want to list off some other defensive skills. Sonia could run Fortress Defense and Res 3, maybe even run the Sacred Seal version as well. That would give her +10 flat defense and res, which is very nice against certain skills, and the -5 attack penalty could get cancelled out by Pact Blooms. Sonia could also run Bond or Unity skills since they share the same range as Pact Blooms to be activated. Attack and Defense or Attack and Res Unity would be fine, and we got Bond Sacred Seals as well. For B skills, you could use the No Seat Disrupt skill if you're worried about Dazzling Staff healers or Fire Suit weapons. In general, the only thing you most likely want is quicker post in some form. Otherwise, Sonia is probably not going to be killing a lot of things very fast. So should you promote Sonia to 5 stars? Well, her major selling point is definitely her defensive stat spread. 30 plus defense and res is pretty dang amazing to work with, although obviously it comes at the cost of her speed stat. You can make her speed super boon work, but it's definitely an uphill battle and would mainly be used for denying follow-up attacks from foes with low to middling speed. In terms of skills, Sonia does not have the craziest base kit around, but 3 of her skills are actually not that easy to get a hold of. The Blue Serpent Tome was only on 1 other unit, so it's here in a free-to-play form if you want to obtain it. Fortress Defense and Res 2 and Threat and Attack in Res 2 are okay skills, but generally you want their tier 3 versions. If you aren't planning to use Sonia at all, she could provide these to make some skill inheritance easier for someone later on. In terms of stats, no other free-to-play blue mage comes close to offering what Sonia brings. If you don't care about speed, her stat line is great for the usual enemy phase type playstyles. Would have liked to see in a Yeek Tome, but at least Sonia can use the Pact Blooms Plus. That weapon is just so nice for a defensive mage build, and I think it's a great pairing, especially over the Serpent Tome. In terms of competition, Brunia is certainly the #1 comparison. Fimbolverture gives her some bonus stats and completely nullifies stat deals, making her a decent tank if you build her right. Brunia may not have as high a defense stat, but her base speed is way higher, so it gives her a lot of build options. Sonia can use her speed super boon, but I think at that point you may as well just run Brunia instead. The trade in speed for defense is worth it, since every point of speed can matter. Regardless, Sonia still has room to shine for sure. She can definitely be a fun mage if you're interested in any kind of defensive build. That's all I got for this video. Let me know your thoughts on Sonia in the comments. I would have loved to have seen her with some kind of unique weapon, but I think she'll be fine for those that do want to invest in her down the line. She does have some fun voice lines as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.